Look, I've been thinking about it. I won't be gone forever, okay? I'll still visit you at home and we'll chat online. We'll make it work.
I don't want it to work. I just wish summer could last forever.
But it can't, Mabel. Look, things aren't gonna stay frozen this way. It's part of growing up. Things change. Summer ends. Mabel, wait!
Hola, comrades! Today's topic of interest, Gravity Falls. After graduating from CalArts, a premier school for artistic pursuits that has produced a lot of talented animators, a young Californian named Alex Hirsch worked on a wacky show called The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. The show was well received, in large part due to the creative genius of not only Hirsch, but also J.G. Quintal, who would go on to create Regular Show, and Pendleton Ward, who would go on to create the long-running and quite beloved Adventure Time. After a stint there, he helped create Fish Hooks, a series set in a fish high school that is exactly as weird as that sounds. There he worked with his friend Justin Rowland, best known for his role as the co-creator of the internet's current object of admiration, Rick and Morty. Despite these successes, his big break did not come until Disney asked that he pitch them ideas for an animated show. They loved his idea for this show about two twins who go to visit their great uncle for the summer and get swept up in the mysteries of the town. This show, Gravity Falls, ran for only 2 seasons, but it quickly became adored due to not only its ambitiously quirky sense of humor and incisive, imaginative writing, but also its characters. These characters seem quite simple at first, but as the show progresses, they are revealed to have more layers.
In the heat of the moment, I might have said some dumb things, and can't we just pretend none of that ever happened? Please?
Dude, it's okay. I always kinda knew.
They can be absurd and broad, but also subtle, nuanced, and melancholy. And it is in large part because of these characters that I would rank this show above anything done by the talented people Hirsch has worked with over his career. Its ability to build and sustain a solid yet always shifting emotional core lifts it above Adventure Time and Rick and Morty. I really like both those shows. They're vibrant and electrifying, and they can be heartfelt and sincere too, as well as incisive, but there's a certain arch blitheness to them. The characters are interesting and even deep, but the gravitas of the character drama is limited. Gravity Falls, meanwhile, cares earnestly and deeply about its characters even at their most comedic. This is what elevates it above its contemporaries, and makes it the best Western animated show not named Avatar or Korra. It's always focused intimately on the anxieties and aspirations and dreads of its characters, without giving into the unfocused, unearned sentimentality that afflicts Steven Universe at its worst, and the tepid, linear optimism that affects Steven Universe consistently. It does all of this because of, not in spite of, being primarily a mystery show. Most mystery storytelling, even good mystery storytelling, like that seen in the Harry Potter series, serves primarily as narrative thrust. A big, intriguing mystery looms large, and the characters attempt to unravel it, and wild shenanigans befall them, forcing them to react. There's nothing wrong with that approach to storytelling, particularly in film, given that how the characters react to the situations is used to reveal their personalities, and the characters are severely tested, being pushed beyond their limits and forced into situations they don't know how to handle. But Gravity Falls takes a more interesting approach. The mystery storytelling challenges and breaks the characters, but it is also a result of the characters. Rarely is the personality of a character demonstrated only by how they respond to the creepiness they encounter. Rather, the creepiness is a response to the actions of the characters. There are characters with intricate plans that are regularly hidden from Dipper and Mabel, as well as from the audience, such as Stan and Gideon and Bill Cipher, but the more common example of this is the creepiness becoming a problem because of the actions and beliefs of the characters. For example, in the very first episode of this series, Tourist Trapped, Mabel is kidnapped by a group of gnomes that want her to be their queen. That is horrible, and of course Mabel is not to blame. But this would not have happened to her had she not been obsessively looking for a boyfriend. Or take the 10th episode of the series, Fight Fighters, in which Dipper is scared about the fight that Robbie challenges him to. So when he accidentally brings Rumble McSkirmish, a character from an arcade fighting game he was playing, to life, he sends this character to fight Robbie, then has to fight Rumble himself because Rumble was going to kill Robbie. In these situations, there is a straight line between the character's intentions and what happens to them. The show does not necessarily hold the characters responsible for their fate, and it generally views them very sympathetically, but there is the correlation. This does not always mean negative things for the characters, for the record. In episode 115, In Too Deep, Mabel's quest for romance pays off, as she winds up encountering a merman who gives her a kiss. This is her first kiss, and she is ecstatic. But the supernatural events in the show cause characters to self-reflect. Not because they learn something about themselves while uncovering the mysteries of Gravity Falls, but because their encounters with the paranormal are, directly or indirectly, related to their actions. This is a recipe for much more lucid and substantial characterization than is common on most TV shows, especially half-hour shows, which tend to rely on simplistic characters. It allows the show to be more unhinged without losing its emotional core. There is energy here, and hijinks and wild twists. Every episode is surprisingly distinct, with its own direction and set of ideas. One episode can be about puppets, both literal and the creepy soul possession kind. The very next episode can be about a jealous, yandere virtual girlfriend who comes to life. The episode after it can be an anthology episode about Grunkle Stan trying to make a sell, only to resort to making the prospective customer an attraction when he fails. And yet none of it feels lightweight or mindless because it's all an extension of the beliefs or actions of the characters of this show. The action and mystery lended the character drama vitality and unbound creativity, while the character drama lends the action and mystery heft and emotional resonance. Because the show is organized like this, it does not wear out. Its characters are active rather than reactive. Take the first episode of Season 2, Scarioki. The big climax of the episode is a horde of zombies rising from the dead and threatening the central location of the series, the Mystery Shack. To fight them, the Pines twins team up with Grunkle Stan and defeat the zombies with the power of song. The show plays this for the absurd, screwball beat that it is, and it's a wonderful sequence.
Boys are a bore, let's show 'em the door. We're taking over the dance floor. Oh, girls do what we like. Oh, we're taking over tonight.
But if the zombies had merely rose from the dead of their own volition, the threat would be straightforward and cliché. What makes the climax work is that Dipper summons the zombies himself out of desperation to convince a pair of government agents that, contrary to what Grunkle Stan claims, Gravity Falls is in fact magical and mysterious. He does not expect that he would raise a horde of zombies or threaten anyone, and the show does not judge him harshly for his actions. But nothing would have been threatened if he had not been so desperate to solicit help from the agents, and he was only so desperate to solicit help from them because his number one obsession has been to uncover the secrets of Gravity Falls. Thus, the episode demonstrates that Dipper's greatest asset, his unyielding curiosity, can also be his greatest character flaw. It demonstrates that Dipper's single-minded pursuit of Gravity Falls' secrets can have negative consequences for the people he loves, a theme that the season gradually expands upon. The best episodic television, from Avatar The Last Airbender to Cowboy Bebop, follows this approach. With serialized television, there is more room for passivity and reaction, but when every episode is more self-contained, then the actions of the characters need to be driving the story. Circumstances that are out of their control befall them, but these circumstances befall them because of their actions or intentions. Otherwise, the episodes run the risk of saying nothing about their characters and becoming nothing but unfocused filler. Considering this, the failings of the worst episodes of Avatar, like the infamous The Great Divide, and the worst episodes of Gravity Falls, like the tedious Dipper versus Manliness, become clear. They tell us practically nothing about the characters, especially in the case of The Great Divide, instead depriving characters of initiative and forcing them to meander through flat, inert storytelling. But even both these episodes are merely underwhelming instead of truly awful, because the narrative is still shaped by the decisions made by the characters, albeit awkwardly. Because of this approach to narrative and character building, the characters of Gravity Falls become substantial quickly, and by the end of the show, they have become excellent. The direction the show takes through its world is tailored to the ambitions and aspirations of its characters. Dipper finds a growth ray in the episode Little Dipper, not because he conveniently stumbles upon it, but because he seeks it out, because he is stung by Mabel's jokes about him being a millimeter shorter than her. When the characters are struck by major realizations, they are affected more deeply. Their reactions are not simple and insipid, but nuanced and character-based, because the characters have been developed by the more standalone episodes, which have demonstrated different elements of these characters through this method of structuring, where the episode fans out from the actions of the characters and the decisions that they make. This is best demonstrated by the most shocking reveal of the series, which is that Grunkle Stan is not a simple money-grubbing codger, but a man who has big plans and great secrets. What these plans and secrets are does not begin to be revealed until the end of Not What He Seems, and his intentions still remain foggy until the radiantly incisive delve into the tragic, solemn backstory of the two brothers in A Tale of Two Stans. For the whole of Not What He Seems, Dipper and Mabel are stuck in limbo. They know that Grunkle Stan has secrets, but they don't know what these secrets are, leaving them in the unenviable position of having to decide whether to trust him. This splits the twins, much to the dismay of Mabel, who, despite her upbeat demeanor, is constantly afraid that they will grow apart as they grow older.
That's exactly why we need to go trick-or-treating, Dipper. We're getting older. There's not that many Halloweens left. I guess I didn't realize it was already our last one.
She trusts Stan despite his fake IDs and the newspaper report of Stan's death. Dipper does not. They both question whether he is even related to them. But Mabel is more pained and longing, whereas Dipper is more skeptical and bitter. If Dipper was in a position to decide whether to keep Stan's portal open, he would have decided against it. But at the climactic moment, he is not in that position. Mabel is, and she chooses to trust Grunkle Stan, leaving the portal open and allowing Stan to achieve what he has been trying to accomplish for 30 years, bringing his brother back. This episode is rightly revered as one of the best in Western animation. There are so many reasons why this is, including how masterfully it rapidly escalates its tension, and how it is able to hauntingly tear asunder the twins' relationships with Grunkle Stan in less than a half hour. But a major reason why this episode works as stunningly as it does is how it drives a wedge between the twins. This would not be as meaningful if it did not make so much sense. Mabel has been constantly characterized as too trusting, and Dipper has always been characterized as too skeptical. And this is rich characterization. Even in episodes that are disconnected from the major plot, Mabel's problems come when she throws herself into situations she does not know how to handle, such as in Boss Mabel, where she willingly agrees to become the boss of the Mystery Shack to prove that she can run it better than Stan. And Dipper's problems come when he overthinks situations and becomes too anxious, such as in Double Dipper, where he creates an overcomplicated plan to talk to Wendy that involves him cloning himself. So them responding to Stan's secrets like they do is not only plausible, it is inevitable. The greatest tension comes from the question of who is right. Both of them take reasonable positions. Though Mabel is proven right in the end, the structure of the show is such that Dipper could have as easily been right. Their most evident personality traits have been depicted as both great strengths and great weaknesses. Both of their worldviews have been steadily and substantially revealed by their experiences. Both their reactions to the unraveling of what they thought they knew are incredibly well written. Moments of reaction can be some of the most compelling moments in a work, especially in television, which spends more time building up its characters and world. The moment when Walter White lies in the sand after Hank is shot in Ozymandias, toppled like the titular king in the Shelley poem, is the best moment of that series. But the reaction needs to be personal, not basic. It always is in Gravity Falls, not in spite of the show's substantial mystery element, but rather because of it.
I trust you.
That Western animated television can be heartbreakingly sad would have been a revelation several decades ago, but it is no more. As animation steadily becomes more mainstream in the West, and sorrow and depression move further into the zeitgeist, we get a lot of shows that deal with unpleasant emotions, whether they are shows aimed at a younger audience or shows directed at an older audience. But what Gravity Falls, regardless of its zaniness, captures better than any other animated show is wistfulness and melancholy. These aren't emotions that usually lend themselves well to animation, which tends to be about action and movement. But here, while there is a lot of action and movement, it's juxtaposed to the idea that, as energetic as all this is, it will be over one day, and there is no guarantee that the characters, especially Mabel, are going to like what comes next. This is a show about the end of childhood, at least the carefree, pre-adolescent kind, and the anxieties associated with that. This is a show about two twins who are very close, but know that they might not always be as close as they are now, and they respond to this by making the most of their time together, but also, especially in Mabel's case, lamenting the inevitable passage of time. I don't want to give the wrong impression about this show. It is hilarious and propulsive. But there is a subtle current of sorrow to it that gives its emotional core more weight. Anyway, if you liked what you saw today, consider donating to my Patreon so I can produce even more adventurous content. I struggled with today's episode for a while, but when I finally figured out what I was saying, it all snapped into focus very well. So don't forget to like, and comment, and subscribe, all that imaginative stuff. Adios, comrades!